Welcome back, folks. How we doing? Today, we're going to make a table. So, you see how we have the factory edge is a rounded over edge on each end. And I want to clean these up and make them completely square, even though I'm going to come back later with like probably an 1/8 inch round over. It's going to be a better look for me for what I'm doing than this big old round over. So this measures 5 5/8, just a hair under 5 5/8. Some of these vary, and if they're fresh and they're wet, they're going to be a little bit bigger. But these are well dried out. They've been drying out for a long time. So I've got my saw set to 5 and just under 3/8. And I'm gonna leave it at that. It's in between 5/16 and 3/8. So I'm going to cut that rounded part off, and I'll go through all of these, cut one edge off, and then I'll go through again and cut them to the width I want, which is 5 inches, which will eventually cut the other side off. So now I've got the blade set at 5 inches. I'll put the previous cut side up against the fence and cut off this rounded edge at 5 inches. So now it's a nice square piece, 4 flat edges. I'm going to eventually on the top, I'll determine which is the bottom and which is the top, and I'll put a 1/8 inch round over on everything. But let me finish cutting the rest of these at 5 inch rips. So I'm going to place all these together in what was going to look good to determine the tops. I'm looking for 30 by 60 overall. That's 30 and a 16th. And I'm going to add 2.5 inch breadboard, so that's 55 plus 2.5 times 2 is another 5, so that'll be 30 by 60 overall. Yeah, that looks really good. So that'll be my layout. I need to rip this one down to 2.5. And then these will go like this. So now I need to get my 1/8 inch round over and round over all 4 top edges of everything. So everything's routed for now. There will be some more at the end. So I could start laying out some dominoes. I want to have maybe 8 inches or so, 6 inches from the end, a domino, one in the middle, and one at that end. That's kind of what I'm looking for. So before I brought everything inside, and I brought everything inside because my dominoes here and the vacuums here, I could have brought those outside, but I can use this tool inside without making a mess, and I like that. Even though there's the occasional mess, I don't like to add to it. I numbered everything at one end, board 6, 5, 4, like that. I have my layouts, 3 layouts per edge or per connecting edge. So now I can move them, lose control of the pattern, the position. But with my layout, my marking, I can bring them back to where I had them before, and everything will be good. So let's get started. I've got I've determined I'm going to be using the 8x50 dominoes. I've got my length set to 25 per plunge. I've got my imperial depth stop set at 1 inch because I have 1 inch material. I have my 1/8 inch rounded over edge. What am I missing? I have an 8 mil bit installed. Somebody asked, it comes with a particular size. I forget which size it comes with, but should I buy the assortment? And I said 100% buy the assortment. There's 6 different sizes, and you never know what you're going to be doing. Even if you do one thing all the time and you only need the one all the time, someone's going to call you. Your sister's going to call and say, "Hey, can you do this?" Because and you're going to need a different size. And you love your sister, just so you might as well get the variety, because something's going to happen. Your neighbor's going to bring in something larger, and I need the larger size, and I only had the 6 mil, but now I need a 10. So just get it, then you'll have it. There we go. I got my layouts, and I'm going to put my layout mark on the center mark of the tool. If I could see it, there we go. So you can see some of my layout. Here's board number 6, and here's board 5, and I have a layout from which I centered the domino, the DF 500. Uh, Nothing on this edge because this is the outside edge, but the inside edges will all connect. And what I did, let's call this south facing edge, I used the tight fitting placement. You see, that is a very snug fit. Very nice. Just like this. Very tight fit. But every north facing edge, I use the center, the middle option to make a little bit wider. And that has a little bit of play in there. If I go all the way to this face, you see there's like, I don't know how many millimeters that is because I don't understand it. But there's almost a 1/4 inch of play in there. So roughly an 1/8 inch in each direction. And so that comes into play when I put this one to this one. And I'm going to have another in the middle and at the other end. And that will allow me to line these up uh, without having all of my tenons or my mortises needing to be dead perfectly perfect. That's how it's laid out. Now we're going to start the glue up. Okay, just so happens that my table surface is very much similar size to the table surface that I'm making. So the first thing I want to do, I got my glue in my bowl, I've got my brush. I'm going to turn all of these in the same direction, just like people do on regular glue ups, but I'm not gluing everything up. I'm only gluing the tenons. I'm not gluing the entire face. Actually, this one doesn't need it. I'm only putting glue in the mortise and on the tenon. I can get started. And this is the way I like to apply everything. I should still have a wet rag with me, but I don't. But it won't take me long to get one. And then I also like to apply glue to the tenon, so I don't wonder if it's got glue. I know it's got glue. And we do that, and we repeat, and we keep repeating. So I'll continue doing that on this row and this row, and then we'll begin assembling everything. Now I could apply some glue into the mortise and on this tenon and then connect them together. There, went together nicely. I'll continue all that and then we'll square everything up. And well, what do I need? I need to, maybe I should have glued that before I laid it down. There we go, very nice. Now to square it up. Yes. I'm going to get it flush on that edge. I know my table is square. I get it flush on this edge. Clamp this edge piece down. And then I need to bring these out. I like the look of that. I've got it looking pretty good. And I've got my cawls on each end to keep it nice and straight across this way. Yeah, it looks very good. So I'm going to go eat lunch. I'll let that set up. And then when I come back, I'll put the breadboards on. And then we'll cut those to trim the length. And then we have the base to work on. Okay, here's how I'm approaching this. I already started here. I had a lot of ideas, and here's what I came up with. Clamping, and this is the base of the trestle. There's one support on the left, one support on the right that go up, and the table sits on top. And I want, instead of I want to carve it out of a 4x6, but I only want the ends to sit on the ground. This is the bottom, this is the top, if that makes sense. These are two pieces sandwiched together. I marked the ends and I'm drilling a 2-inch hole. I'm going to do the same thing right here. Let me do that now. Right about there. We'll go roughly halfway. You see what we got there? Then I've got those lines transferred over to this side. And hopefully if my opposing holes are off a little bit, I can clean it up with the belt sander. There, how about that? The drill is getting hot. But here, a lovely hole. Let's do the same thing on this side, and then we could separate the clamps if the drill doesn't overheat. Anyway, that didn't line up great, but it'll clean up. It'll be underneath and no one will see it. So here's what we got. And then really no one's going to know anything. So I need to connect a straight line, a straight cut across here from the top of that half circle. Same thing here. Just connect the dots and cut it. It's that simple. So I've got my short track here, and I'm just going to line it up with the tops of those holes there. Exactly like that. I'm going to drop the depth of the blade all the way down to get maximum cut, which should be in the neighborhood of 2 inches. And I'm going to drop down and go to there and come up and flip it over and repeat. And whatever parts don't get reached with this blade, I will either a handsaw or a sawzall or something. I could take it to the bandsaw, something like that. That goes, that's done. Looks very nice. Looks exactly like this one. So it'll be one. This is going to be, a lot of the stock is going to be removed to to leave a tenon on here, which is going to drop into here. And I've got it drawn out, laid out where I want my mortise to go. And I don't have a large drill press, but I'm going to have to make do with what I have. And so far, I started this with the circular saw, just dropping it in. After chewing that out, cleaning it up with the sawzall a little bit, it turned out not too bad. Not too bad. Then I made my tenon on the table saw. My battery was dying, but I made the tenon on the table saw with the dado stack, passing it through like this, taking a 1/4 inch off and then flipping it over and taking a 1/4 inch off, and then I cleaned this up with a little bit of the table saw, a little bit of the circular saw. And it's not perfect, it's kind of chewed up a little, but it fits. Fits pretty well. But on the underside, you see it's pretty flush here. I think it's tight enough, even though it's not snug. I think it's tight enough that if I glue it up real well, all surfaces of the mortise and all surfaces of the tenon, I think it's never going to come apart. That's what I'm personally thinking. And I'm going to clean it up with the router. I'm going to pass these through the surface planer and just clean all the faces up, and then route them and sand them a little bit. This one's the same way. This one's a little snug fit, but not too snug. It's going to be very nice. I wanted to add a little taper, add a little something, and then on the top we have these that will go like this. And I'm just going to put dominoes in here, the large dominoes, 2 of them, 3 of them, maybe 3 would never come off ever, and 2's never going to come off. But if I center that up, 3 dominoes would be overkill and nice. And then the tabletop can sit on here. I still need to make a stretcher. Anyway, I'm kind of winging it as I go, but I'm liking it. I'm liking all of it. And this might look a little like this is smaller than this, but this is the same width as the actual table surface. And this is going to be held back a little, so the table will come out about 5 inches past here. It's going to look nice. I don't want these to interfere with the edge of the table. And I'm only going to have about a 3-foot stretcher between them. It's a 5-foot table, so that'll leave about a 1-foot overhang on either side, and I think that'll be nice. I'm about to call it a day, but in the morning, this goes through. We'll clean this up and bring this on home. So I want to have a 2x8 as my stretcher in between the trestles. I want 3 feet in between those trestles, and I need a little overhang for the mortise to go through the trestle and then pin it on the backside like that. So I cut this to 4 feet. I've got this set at 6 inches. So that'll, if I remove a portion of this, 6 inches and 6 inches, that'll leave 3 feet between the two. And I've got it raised up to about a 1/4 inch. I should probably test it before I start digging into it. So I've got this thickness down to a little less than an inch. It's about 15/16. You could even call it an inch at times. It's right in there somewhere. I need to cut some shoulders on it now. I've raised my dado up to about 1.25 inches, and I'm going to pass this through like this. And I do need a sled. Everybody's probably saying, why don't you have a sled? I don't have one yet. I need one. I remind myself occasionally that I need one, and here we are again. So I'm going to do like that and go from there. So I've got here my final fit. The curvature here has been sanded down. There's a little bit more I could hit with the palm sander, and but it's cleaned up quite nicely. That underside is pretty good. I'm not going to flip this over, but well, maybe I should. The tinning comes all the way through flush at the bottom. It's a little bit rough down here, but I'm not worried about that. What I'm doing at this point is running this surface and this surface across the planer because they were marked up. You could see this one hasn't been done yet. I did run this surface through and it cleaned it up because it was dark. It was weathered, but it cleans up pretty well. So I'm going to run this side and this side through, and then also while this still comes apart, I'm running this face and this face through the planer, so there's no accidental saw marks or anything like that. And this is a little spotty, but that'll sand. I don't want to. My surface planer is smaller. It's like a lunchbox, and this large piece is going to overwhelm it, so I'm not going to put it in there. But I could sand that. If I needed to, I could put it in there, but I don't really need to, so I won't. So let me put that down. Let me put this aside, and I could run this one. See, with one pass, caught some of it. It's a little splotchy. We'll just keep running this until it's all nice and clean, and it is what it is. It's going to look fine. Now, before I glue anything up, I'm going to hit all these edges with a 1/4 inch round over, and then these edges I'm going to hit with the 3/16 round over. And I still need to determine the center stretcher. Okay, a couple things going on. This side has been laid out and plunged. In the table surface, I have the medium width, a little bit wider mortise, but in the breadboard itself, I have the tighter one. So that'll allow me to dial everything in, get it close on the sides, and hammer it home. I put these lines about 2 inches from the end, each end, and then all the others are in the center of each board. I've got the other end laid out, but I haven't plunged the mortises yet. That's coming up next. And then at the top of the trestle, I'm going to see, this is 1 inch stock. This is 1.5 inches stock. So I'm going to change from the 8 mil loose tenons to the 10 millimeter loose tenons for this material. And I've got these, one in the center and two more spaced out evenly toward the end. And so I'm going to finish the 8 millimeter tenons at that end, and then switch the tool around to the 10 millimeter tenons. It's all coming together. I've got my center mortise chewed out. On the inside, they are chewed. I'm not good at that. But on the outside, they're a little better. I got one little goof here, and some of it's a little bit wobbly, but honestly, it's going to be fine. It's going to be real fine. Okay, I got my bit switched over to the 10 millimeter bit. I adjusted the depth to the 1.5 inch setting, so I'm in the center of the 1.5 inch material. I adjusted the depth of plunge to the 28 depth because I've been bit by that before. I made that mistake. And I think I'm going to put everything at a tight setting. Okay, I changed my mind in the middle of everything. The center is in the tight setting, and the wider ones are in the a little bit wider setting, the medium setting. That'll make sure I'm not struggling. That'll help me to not struggle. How about that? 3 and 3 goes right there. I don't want to get glue all over that table, but I do want to work on that table. So I could do this. And speaking of glue, I need more glue and a larger brush. All right. And the number two there means this goes here. And that's it. Here we go. Everything's glued. Took everything out of the clamps, cleaned it up a little bit with the sander, and I'm really happy with it all. So here's the assembly. Come on. We got the pegs. What are they called? Draw pegs? Just tap those in gently. Very nice. It makes it all very stout. Then I bring the tabletop. It's going to sit something like that. It's going to fasten. I think I'm going to do some of those figure eights on top. And then through that, it'll be hidden fasteners. But that's it. The height of this, what is it, like 39 inches right there, which is 12 inches higher than the seat of my tall deck chair, what I call my captain's chair. And the customer had bought 4 captain's chairs and a table that he's going to put on his deck. And I asked if he, originally I quoted as a 48-inch square, and then I threw out the idea, hey, this, we talked about square, or it could be rectangle, and he said, I'd like to go with the rectangle. So you have some options. You could put 2 chairs on either side, over here. You could put 2 over here, 1 at each end, and leave this end open, like for the view of the beach. You got your options, and everything fits. When you're sitting up in that tall chair, you might even put your feet up here just to kick a leg up, you know, and maybe have a drink or eat some barbecue or whatever. Someone's bringing something out of the kitchen. It's all treated pine. There are no fasteners. The only fasteners are dominoes, the loose tenons. Mortise and tenon joinery is what it all is. I will have a few fasteners, and they will be stainless steel. But here is the deal. And I am going to make plans available for this. I don't know how soon I'll get that done, but it's a great table. And it doesn't have to be this material. It could be birch or something like that. It could be cherry. It could be a nice indoor table, whether it's for a bar. It could be a dining table. Easily just adjust the dimensions. But it's been fun to build, um, without having any plans, just kind of winging it. I did this in 2 days, and 2 really hot days, and kind of working around the conditions. And anyways, I'm real happy with it. Thanks for checking out. Thanks for sticking around. And please subscribe. I need subscribers. And this is the reason why. So you can see more good things like this. And you're going to like it. There's a lot more to come. Thank you. Take care.